Shanansalan Slaka Shakshramye Tamyena Tasmai Shigave Nama Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Shimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauvana Pacharani Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Vaskachai Desatarni. Hare Krishna. So the last 2 weeks I've been absorbed in the Bhaktivedanta course, facilitating the course, and I'm teaching the first 10 chapters of the 7th canto, which is of course related to Prahlada Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu, and Lord Nrsimhadev. So in this seminar I will try to present you some aspects of the teachings of Prahlada Maharaj and go a bit deeper than usual in the subjects that he is presenting. The goal is to get.
क्या कर रहे हैं आरव? नीचे आ जा, अब तो 7 बज गई है. Come down.
Yeah, I see.
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Yeah. Maybe you can mute everyone. That's best. So the idea is that we look in our own heart. These teachings are not just stories; they are for us, and they will help us to get rid of our materialistic tendencies and turn our consciousness more to spiritual life. Spiritual life means that we surrender, and surrender means that we become a servant of the Niskinchana devotee. It is in the scripture said. Niskinchana means a devotee without any material desire. That's pure devotional service. I've seen our temples many times that is not understood. And we have other goals than pure devotional service, materialistic goals. And Prahlada Maharaj is preaching against that. In the previous, I will read from the 6th chapter of the 7th canto. Prahlada instructs his demoniac schoolmates that he will tell them the same thing, more or less, as he told to his father. Because in the previous chapter he had 2 confrontations with his father, Hiranyakashipu. But during one of the future sessions, we will speak about these confrontations also, and that we can learn a lot from that. But he said to his father before, Martirna Krishna Paratos Vatavami Topi Bhaji Tukhya Vatanam Anand Vishatam Tamisham Punaspana Sarvata Sarvnanam. Said to his father, your inclination to become God conscious, Krishna conscious, it will never happen because you are deeply engaged or fallen into the well of Jaya-vrata, sense gratification. Jaya-vrata, you have made the vrata, the vow, to enjoy your body and your senses. And that's the goal of your life. That, and by that, Ananda Gopir, your senses are controlled because you become the servant of your senses and your mind and your material desires. That Ananda Gopir, Vishatam, you will enter Tamishram, hell. That so these are very strong words. And what he's going to say here, Prahlada Maharaj is here with his schoolmates. We will see, and maybe I can show a picture a little further, that here you see him. Prahlada Maharaj is teaching his schoolmates. They are being taught by Sanda and Amarka. They are disciples of Shukracharya. Shukracharya is the guru of the demons. And what do the demons want? Sense enjoyment. Put myself in the center of my enjoyment. The devotees are different. They put Krishna in the center and service to Krishna. That so. And Sanda and Amarka were teaching Prahlada as a prince and all the other sons of demons in three things. And that is what Shukracharya was teaching. That Dharma, Artha, Kama, Trivarga. Dharma, doing pious activities so that you can get wealth. Artha, wealth means money, sweeter than honey. And when you have wealth, then you can control everything and fulfill your desires. And that's also our materialistic society. That's what they teach in the school. You get a diploma to get a job, to get money, and then you get wealth. You can feed your family and enjoy with the family or enjoy with the society. So many isms, all based on the same thing. That so therefore, Prahlada Maharaj starts his teachings because they were being taught by Sanda and Amarka, their teachers, in this materialistic way of life. Then Sanda and Amarka, they went to do their household duties. And Prahlada took the opportunities. His schoolmates said, let us play. But Prahlada said, no, don't use your time. Don't lose your time with this playing. Just listen what I have to say. And there, this first verse is spoken by him. That says, the Bhagavatam says, Se Prahlada Uvacha. This is a famous verse. Prabhupada used that verse so many times. Every preacher in ISKCON must know this verse. Or you don't know much of the Bhagavatam. Kamara achet pashyo dharmam bhagavatamyam durlapam manusamchan ma tapya dhruvam artadam. That Prahlada Maharaj says, Kamara, Kaumara means at the age of 5, Kaumara age, that very young boys, girls, Kaumara, Kumari, Kaumara, yeah. That from that age, Kaumara, Acharet, Pragyo. Acharet means Acharya doing, Acharet, practice. You should practice that because what should you practice? And why should you practice? Why? Pragyo, because you are intelligent. You are sufficiently intelligent. And therefore, Dharmam Parvatam Iha. That you should engage in Bhagavat Dharma, devotional service to the Supreme Lord. That Iha, now, in this life, from the age of 5, young, that one reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, I see in this Krishna conscious movement, all these devotees are young boys and girls. Why is that? Srila Prabhupada replied, do you see old men at the universities? No, it's also young men. They can be easily reformed. If you have 30, 40 years of materialistic life, good luck. It's deep-rooted in your heart, this enjoyment. Very difficult to get out. But Krishna consciousness is so strong that you can get out. And why? Durlabham manusam janma. He says that Durlabham, Manusha. Manusha means the human form of life. And this human birth, Manusam Janma, this human birth, Durlabham, very rarely obtained. Think about it. The scripture says we have gone to 8,400,000 types of bodies. We were birds, plants, so many animal forms, 100 lives of cows, and after millions of lives you get the human birth. The human birth, in which you can understand who you are, who God is, very rarely obtained. That Tapya Dhruvam Artadam. Although this body is temporary, it says that, yes, Adruvam, the body is temporary. You take birth, and on the body there is an expiry date. That it doesn't last long. Like you go to the supermarket and you have some vegetables or some fruits, and you have an expiry date. That so use it before the expiry date. That Tapya Dhruvam Artadam. So the translation, Prahlada Maharaj said, when we're sufficiently intelligent to use the human form of body from the very beginning of life. In other words, from the tender age of childhood. To practice the activities of devotional service, giving up all other engagement. The human body is most rarely achieved, and although temporary like other bodies, it's meaningful because in human life one can perform devotional service. Even a slight amount of sincere devotional service can give one complete perfection. That is interesting. It can give one complete perfection. In the Bhagavatam we have another verse, 240, that there it speaks also, and even a slight amount of devotional service can protect you against the greatest fear. We will come back to that. But in his two verses that Prahlada Maharaj speaks, in these two verses, he brings the positive, what we should do, that what should be done, and why it should be done. So Prahlada is speaking to his school mates. And he says, even human life is temporary, life is temporary. Most people think it doesn't seem like that. We think that we are here forever. That's the illusion. We live in illusion. We think that tomorrow will be like yesterday. That tomorrow will be like yesterday. But then something happens that is not supposed to happen. And fear enters our heart. That nobody thought, yes, oh, this pandemic will happen. But it changed the whole situation. So Prahlada Maharaj said, life is temporary, but it's full of value because we can use it in devotional service and get eternal life. With no other birth, you can do it. The human life is a facility that we can understand who we are, who God is, who Krishna is, that where we come from, where we go to. If we follow the scriptures, understand the scriptures, we can understand these things. But Prahlada Maharaj will explain in the following verses that each of the stages of life has its own material tendencies, which keeps us in this material world. And I will now, for this I will show another slideshow. I will first stop this one, and now I will get another one here. It's a visual presentation, and the visual makes it more, tangible. We can that. And we are nearly there. Swap. Okay. And now share up, and now you see these young kids on the screen. That yes. That. Good. So you see these 4 children age 5 to 10, even younger here, that what do they want to do? What did the schoolmates of Prahlad want to do? They wanted sporting, playing. That so Prahlad said to his schoolmates, "No, you listen." His schoolmate said, "Let's play now and study later." But Prahlad Maharaj said, "No, now, from the age of Kamara, as a young age, that's the time to study. Otherwise, later, you enter the illusion, a life of illusion." The boy said to Prahlad, "Later we can hear about something. Now I want to play." So that's the tendency. Children want to play. That it's just losing one's time. And then when it comes to adolescence, age 10 to 12, another set of desires come. I love her, she loves me not. Lust comes into the heart. It becomes a whole illusion that they want relationships, they want to marry, that. So the mind becomes absorbed in that, again, in the body and the bodily relationships. That so it's another set of desires. Prahlad Maharaj will explain in the next verses, and then he speaks age 20 to 30. One want a family. The family becomes the center and absorption. Extended eye and mind. That so there's a shift in the desires, in the and then because of the powerful influence of material nature, it is difficult to pull away from these desires. And then 30, 40, that ambition, that and one becomes absorbed in all these desires and this strife, and one forgets that death is coming. One forgets that human life is meant to get eternal life. But understanding the perspective of eternal life is not so easy. That for many people, it's not easy even to understand that they will die. And then you get 50, 60, the body is dwindling, attachment to the granddaughter and the grandsons, that another set of desires. And then 60, 70. These people start to speak. I don't know how many years I still have. They speak like that. I may go any moment. Why do they speak about that? And those in previous who are young or not? Because it's true that this is what happens. So what seemed to be important at one stage seems not to be important for another stage. That so why are we becoming so absorbed in all these desires of all these stages and forget about spiritual life? That is the fault of so-called modern civilization, who steers us in that direction. Every aspect of education is about economic development or nationalism. Teaching, the underlying teaching is you are the body. So young people today even, they want, they think that civilization is advancing. Children today, they think that the parents should listen to them. Because I explain them how to use an iPad and so on. If they want to use their laptop or their iPhone, they come to me. It's upside down. It's all conducive for material enjoyment. It's the death knell of spiritual life. In the Vedic culture, then they were living in the perspective of the inevitable. The body is going to die. One should act in perspective of one's life goal. What is one's life goal? Life's goal. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is referring to this civilization, and he didn't think it was a civilization, a soul killing, because it teaches children that the purpose of life is sense enjoyment. The purpose of life is to get a family and enjoy in a family and become attached. That does not mean that the Bhagavatam is against family life. It's against Kriyamedi life. That's what we are speaking about. Family life without spiritual purpose. Personally, I'm all for family life as long as I'm not involved. But family life is necessary. But it should be Grihastha life, not this kind of life. Because where do the great sages come from? From saintly family life. Because it teaches people that it teaches children that the purpose of life is sense gratification, immediate gratification, and therefore the true benefit of life is overlooked. It is the benefit of the soul that is killed. So Prahlada Maharaj is saying, as soon as you wake up, you should understand what's going on in the material world. You should understand two things. The body is temporary. Don't work for the body. That you are a spirit soul. And the goal is not sense-oriented. The goal is to connect with Krishna in devotional service. And go back to the spiritual world to get back your eternal life. And therefore he says, you should practice Bhagavad Dharma. So that we can read a short part of the purport. The whole purpose of Vedic civilization and of reading the Vedas is to attain the perfect stage of devotional service in the human form of life. According to the Vedic system, therefore, from the very beginning of life, the brahmacharya system is introduced, so that one's very childhood, from the age of 5 years, one can practice modifying one's human activities so as to engage perfectly in devotional service. as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Svalpam apya syadharmasya trayate mato bayat. Even a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. The most dangerous type of fear. This is Bhagavad Gita 240. What is the most dangerous type of fear? This most dangerous type of fear that is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita is something where practically no one in this world is fearful from. Nobody has that fear. But what is the most dangerous type of fear? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you will be a little devotional service and you will be protected from the most dangerous type of fear. It's to lose one's human life and in next life become an animal. If we live just for the body, to have sex, to eat, to sleep, to enjoy the mind, just for enjoyment, then you go to animal life. Srila Prabhupada says in the Bhagavad Gita, 99.999% of the population are Naradams, on the way to animal life, next life. 99% of the population, he says, are demoniac. What does it mean, demoniac? Demoniac means the goal of life is sense gratification. Saintly or devotee means the goal of life is serving Krishna. It's not serving my senses, not putting mine in the center, but putting Krishna in the center. 99%. What's our population in this world? 6 billion? Means, 60 million are interested in spiritual life. And the others, all demoniac sense gratification. But let us take a look at animals and see how they are enjoying. Here. So peaceful together. But is it always so peaceful? No. They are suffering. That they have bugs everywhere. That too hot in the summer. That always fighting with each other. People throw stones, sticks. Their whole life is fear. You see birds and they are afraid they are flying away. That you have these bears, a big fur coat, but sometimes it can be very hot. In Govardhan, Vrindavan in the summer, it can be 50, 55 degrees Celsius. So hot. And there you are a bear with this fur coat with bugs inside. Good luck. So this is a situation. Let's read a little further. So the most dangerous type of fear. Modern civilization, not referring to the verdicts of Vedic literature is so cruel to members of human society that instead of teaching children to become brahmacharis, it teaches mothers to kill children even in the womb on the plea of curbing to the increase of population. That abortion is murder. That the living entity, the soul, is in the womb. And the body is killed by force. It is said the effect on mothers who murder their children in the womb, sometimes they have a depression for many years. It has heavy reactions. Yeah. So, and if by chance a child is saved, is educated only for sense gratification, then you are saved from the abortion. You take birth, and then they instruct you in sense gratification, preparing you to become an animal in your next life. That's the modern civilization. Surely, throughout the entire world, human society is losing interest in the perfection of life. Indeed, men are like cats and dogs, spoiling the duration of their human lives by actually preparing to transmigrate again to the degraded species among the 8,400,000 forms of life. The Krishna conscious movement is anxious to serve human society by teaching to perform devotional service, which can save a human being from being degraded again and again to animal life, as already stated by Prahlada Maharaj. Bhagavad Dharma or Sanatan Dharma, the same, that it consists of 9 things, 9 practices. That Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada, Sevanam, Marcham, Vandam, Dasyam, Atmanivedanam. That's one of the verses spoken to Prahlada, by Prahlada to his father Hiranyakasipu. After hearing that, he became very angry, Hiranyakasipu. Especially because Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Shravanam, hearing about Krishna. Kirtana, glorifying about Krishna. Smaranam, Vishnu, remembering Krishna. Krishna or Vishnu, same. That, so these are most important practices. If we chant the holy name, then we glorify Krishna, hear him, we hear his name, and remember him. And that's the process. Srila Prabhupada writes, in all the schools, colleges, and universities, and at home, all children and youth should be taught to hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, they should be taught to hear the instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Instructions of Bhagavad Gita. Who is interested in the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita? Very few. That is what we need. That sometimes I meet Indians and ask them, do you know Bhagavad Gita? I said, yes, we know Bhagavad Gita. Then ask, what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? They don't know, no idea. That we must want to know and want to understand about spiritual life. Who am I? What's the goal of my life? Where I'm going after death? What are the reactions to my actions in this life? That otherwise one is blind. Prahlada Maharaj said to his father, Natevitus Vatratimis Vishnum Durasi Bhairachtamanina. That you don't know the goal of life is Vishnu. You are always absorbed in the external world, and thinking you are part of this. That. So they should be taught to hear the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, to put them into practice in their lives, and thus to become strong in devotional service, free from fear of being degraded to animal life. So that's the consolation prize in devotional service. If you don't make it, at least you get a human birth again. But it's not guaranteed for those who are not practicing devotional service. They are all on their way to animal life. That because they are cultivating the mode of ignorance, tamas. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one who cultivates rajas and tamas. Yeah? Tamas means you enter in your next life, Krishna says, animal life. An animal identifies with the body. They cannot do anything else. It's like by material nature. If a human does that also, then he's like an animal. I have a good brahmachari friend, and he said, yes, he was practicing devotional service for 30 years. And then his mother died, and he had to come back from India for the funeral. And he saw the body of his mother, and he immediately understood, that's not my mother. The mother was alive in the body. So burn the body. That the valuable is gone. The consciousness and the soul. The individual is gone. The person is gone. That this body is not a person. He understood. And he was not very sentimental with the body. But his brother was kissing the face of the mother and so on. And tears. It's all ignorance. That we must recognize who the person is during our lives. That so following Bhagavad Dharma has been made extremely easy in this age of Kali. The Shastra says, Harinama, Harinama, Harinamaiva Kevalam, Kala Nasteva, 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 Gatiranyata. One need only to chant Hare Krishna mantra. Everyone engaged in the practice of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra will be completely cleansed from the core of his heart and be saved from the cycle of birth and death. The point is to understand this knowledge. You need the mercy of God. Otherwise, you remain in illusion. And to get the mercy of God, we need to follow the instructions of liberated souls. And these are the instructions. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smaranam. Hear about God. Glorify Him, remember Him. Because Krishna, Prahlada Maharaj will further explain that God is everywhere. He's in every atom. He organizes all the situations in this world according to the karma of the living entities. That so this is important that we understand this. That but because we're in the previous verse, in the previous chapter here before, that after the second conversation with Prahlada and Hiranyakashipu, his father became so angry and he tried to kill Prahlada in so many ways. And he could not touch him. Nothing worked. He had the whole universe under his control, but he could not control Prahlada. And he became morose, he became depressed at the end. And he asked Prahlada that, yes, where do you get your power from? That was, yeah. So Prahlada said, I get the power from the same source as you get your power. That all power comes from the Supreme Personality of God. Krishna says, I'm the ability man. That he empowers everyone. He controls material nature, makes our heart beating, our digestion go. He does our thinking, we are just observing. We can think according to our desires. That everyone is so conditioned in this world. We get happiness and distress since birth. That's controlled by Krishna. Tashevaita payateta kovitona lapyate at brahmatamya paratan. Talapyate dukavan anyato sukam kalin savata kabira ramasa. This Narada Muni speaking to Sri Vyasadeva says yeah. But happiness in this world is concerned. You don't need to strive for happiness. That will come of its own accord. Like distress comes on its own accord. Our happiness and distress is fixed since our birth. Nothing you can do. We have our plans to get happy, but does that always happen as we think? No. We get the happiness and distress what we deserve to our previous actions. That's all. And it's also Krishna who arranges that. So Krishna is in every atom. That the trees grow because of Krishna. That because there's a soul inside, therefore it grows. But it's Krishna, the super soul, that makes it grows, and that makes Krishna has created our eyes and the object of the eyes and the sun, so and the whole mechanism. He makes everything working. But if we put ourselves in the center and we think we are the body, we don't see all these things. You see only the enjoyment and your plans to become happy. But there is no happiness in this world. What we take as happiness is a concoction of the mind. You are hungry, there's a pain in the stomach, and then you eat and you think that's happiness. No. This body is a vehicle for karma. And it's giving you reactions from your previous activities. And nothing you can do about it. You must get them. But if we want to become free from all these entanglements, we must connect with Krishna. And Krishna will take you out of it. But you must first come out of this illusion. If you are trying to become happy in this world, spiritual life is not possible for you. The inclination to love Krishna will not come up. We must let this go. So we must, in spiritual life, Prahlada Maharaj explained, we must hear two things at the same time. The fertility of material life, soon everything is over. All the things that we think are problems are soon over. That if you leave the body, no problems anymore. That you go to the next destination. That Prahlada was protected by Krishna. Why? He did not pray to become protected. That he was just surrendering to Krishna. That because he was sinless, he had no material desire. All his sins were gone. And he was fearless. He knew this body is just like a dress of the soul. And I'm not a dress. But that requires great realizations. But so we have mainly spoken about material consciousness, but what is it to be God conscious? That I read a few verses from the 4th chapter, in which the consciousness of Prahlada is described. How we internally experience that. And I want to finish with that to give you an idea what we should develop, the consciousness. This is our natural consciousness, the pure consciousness of the soul. It's now contaminated by these three modes, which generates all these desires because of our previous lives. Because of our previous lives, we get remaining desires from our previous lives. And if we and in this life we try these remaining desires to fulfill them, and by that we create at the end of life, because a material desire cannot be fulfilled, there are still remaining desires, and to fulfill these remaining desires we get a new body, and then you get a new body with some suffering and happiness, and then we try again to fulfill these remaining desires, and it doesn't work out. At the end, you are still not satisfied. You have still the desires, and then Krishna gives you another body. You understand? That it's boring, yes, to hear. It's repetition. But is that what we do? But if we become alert, full of bliss in their voice by performance of Bhagavad Dharma, devotional service, hearing, remembering, chanting of Krishna, we get a different consciousness. I read about Prahlada Maharaj, his consciousness. Prahlada Maharaj was always absorbed in thought of Krishna. That's reality, because there is nothing else than Krishna in this world. He's doing everything, but unfortunately we don't have the vision. He's not far, he's in our heart. You don't have to go far. Thus, being always embraced by the Lord, he did not know how his bodily necessities, such as sitting, walking, eating, lying down, drinking, and talking, were being automatically performed. So he was not aware what the body was doing. Krishna arranged everything with the body, and he was identifying with his real self, spiritual body. Because of advancement in Krishna consciousness, he sometimes cried, sometimes laughed, sometimes expressed jubilation, and sometimes sang loudly, always in bliss. Sometimes, upon seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Prahlada Maharaj would loudly call in full ecstasy. He sometimes lost his shyness in jubilation and began dancing in ecstasy, and sometimes, being fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, he felt oneness and imitated the pastimes of the Lord. He saw Krishna everywhere. in every atom. That he was always in bliss by that. That his father challenged him. Hiranyakashipu said, "Where is your father? Is he in the pillar?" And Prahlada said, "Of course he's in the pillar." And then Lord Nrsingadev came out to prove the words of Prahlada. That sometimes feeling the touch of the Lord's lotus hands, he became spiritually jubilant and remained silent, his hair standing on end, tears gliding down from his half-closed eyes because of his love for the Lord, because of his association with perfect, unalloyed devotees, and that's the process. Who had nothing to do with anything material, Prahlada Maharaj constantly engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet. By seeing his bodily features when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. In other words, Prahlada bestowed them then transcendental bliss. So that's the consciousness of Prahlada. One can say what we was, we are not on the level of Prahlada. No, but we can start purifying ourselves. And the more we make advancement, the more happy we'll become. That, and if we don't finish this process, we go further in this next life, and our spiritual advancement will remain until we go back to the spiritual world and get our eternal existence back. We are eternal, but we identify with a temporary body, and we think when the body is finished, I'm finished. And that makes that we are full of fear. But Prahlada Maharaj, he was in pure spiritual consciousness. He did not identify with the body anymore. So that's an introduction today of the teachings of Prahlada Maharaj. This is a bit, this seminar is not meant for those who don't Bhagavad Gita. That will be very difficult to understand for them. You need some preliminary knowledge, but I think most of you have read Bhagavad Gita that and can understand something. So, are there any questions? No?
Thank you, Maharaj. It was a very wonderful class. I had one simple question probably. What was like for we should think of a relationship that we desire with Krishna, and Prahlad being 5 years old and such an advanced devotee. What was his relationship that he had with Krishna? Was Krishna his father, his friend? Or
that's explained in the Bhagavatam. It's Vatsalya Bhav, but a reverse Vatsalya. In the Vatsalya Bhav, normally we see ourselves as the parent of Krishna. Krishna is our son. But it's reverse. He saw the Lord as his father, that who took care of him in all circumstances. And that's his relationship with Lord Nrsingadev. That, it was Vatsalya. Seeing the Lord as one's father. And the Lord is the father of all living entities. This is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. It's the seed-giving father. That that's in the 14th chapter we find that in the Bhagavad Gita. So that was his bhava is relationship. That yeah. Any other question?
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Kathleen. That
Class.
good to hear you. That
you say Krishna does our thinking, we're just observing. It's quite hard for me to get my head around that. If you could explain it a little bit more, please.
yeah, that it's good to study the fifth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, verses 8 to 9 and 9. En naiva kinshit kaomite yukt mayeta tatvavid pasans bisyan sikhan asnagasan spapan spasan palapam vityam hinam unmisam nimisam api indiachti su vartanta itidariam. A person in the divine consciousness. So one who sees things as they are, one who is in spiritual consciousness. Although engaged in seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their objects and that he is aloof from them. So that means that when you speak, Krishna is speaking, the only desire. But you mistakenly think I am speaking. You are speaking because of your desire, but you are not speaking. I'm not lifting my hand. Krishna lifting my hand because I wanted. That Krishna controls the body and all the activities of the body. It's further. It is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that the embodied spirit, master of the city of the body. So the spirit soul does not create activities. We do not create them. Krishna creates the activities. We are only doing that. And what we can do is according to our karma. That your happiness and distress. We have many times we think, yeah, we have our plans, this is going to happen, that is going to happen. But things do not happen according to our plan, but according to our karma, Krishna gives us. That, and that is not easy to understand for the conditioned soul. If one understands, one understands that one becomes the observer. If that my experience after many years is something happens that you don't expect, immediately I think of Krishna. What does Krishna want? That yes, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, in order to desire, I must think. That's why I can't get my head around that because...
Yeah, you must think. But the desire to think is there. Then Krishna will organize the thinking according to your desire and what you deserve. That I've many times, that you want to remember something, you can't. You can't. But devotional service is so beautiful that, especially in preaching, I don't remember something, but then, 1 minute later, Krishna gives me the remembrance, and then I come back to the point. That, but I know it's Krishna. If it depends on my karma, I would not remember it. This is Krishna's reciprocation. That's and one understands that, and that by that, if Krishna changes your plans, You see, my daughter is so wonderful. And there is no question of frustration. It's all right. Krishna wants it in that way, good. And we remain happy. But if one is not in the divine consciousness, that does not mean divine consciousness is described here in this verse 8:11. But even if you have a slight tendency towards this Krishna consciousness, that you may be disturbed in the beginning, but then later you see, oh yeah, that's what Krishna wants. That's all right. That I'm not a controller. I'm surrendered to the circumstances that he gives me. That surrendering to the circumstances that we get. But there are two things that seems to be contradictory. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj says, as one time, you should understand, you should act like everything depends on you, but at the same time, know that nothing depends on you. And that's Krishna consciousness. We try to act to please Krishna, that as everything depends on us. And that's the giving of our love. That's the giving of our love to Krishna. But we know at the same time, nothing depends on us. But it's wonderful if you go in preaching, then yeah, sometimes Krishna changes your plans, that's all right. And sometimes he's empowering you beyond your imagination. But both situations for the devotee are all right. If he feels happy, it doesn't matter. That we are not depending. A devotee does not feel dependent on temporary circumstances. His desires go beyond that and bring him beyond that. Even life after life. Does that help a bit to understand this?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. Very nice.
Okay, good. Any other question? Good, then I look forward to discuss another aspect of the teachings of Prahlada Maharaj next Friday. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Jai
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj.